Hello friends, I am back with another spread using the Raven's Wand Oracle, which is my deck of the month. So I went to Sasha Graham's 365 tarot spreads and pretty much opened it up randomly. I have a bunch of little tab things on it and ended up on a money spread, which is not something I would normally think to use this deck on, but the whole idea was to sort of randomly select something. So let's see what it has to say. Number one, and for those of you who have this book, it's on page 192, called a savings spread. My current and prevailing attitude about money. I have times arrow. And what does times arrow mean? How does your perception of time or timing affect a situation? I think that just means that I need to learn, especially since this is a savings spread, to sit on my money. And probably let time pass, and I will see if if something comes up that is appropriate for me to spend something on. So that one's a little bit of an obtuse to me message, but that's all right. Number two, my negative perceptions about money. The call of longing. So this is the grass is greener syndrome. I remember this card, but let me see. Beware of grass is greener syndrome growing in you. Accept, respect, and learn to value limitations, which of course I do. So this is negative perceptions about money. So limited thinking about money, I think, is a negative perception. And, the grass is always greener, perhaps being a negative perception in terms of spending, thinking that you need the next shiny thing. It doesn't quite amount to lack thinking that, limitations, but it leans in that direction. So I think that's part of the negativity. So number three, positive perceptions about money. Oh my God, the Queen of Hearts. This is, which is not what you would think the Queen of Hearts would be. I mean, she stabbed herself in the heart. I think it's a card of sacrifice. Let me see. Yeah, sacrificing so something can grow or be created. Volunteering, giving of oneself. It's interesting because I think of that actually in the opposite. I think of that as a negative attitude in terms of giving too much without receiving value for it. So we're just going to move on. What can I do to put more money in the bank? Farewell. This is another odd card to get. A necessary parting, even if painful. Acknowledge others' role in your life in gratitude and let go. Combat feelings of loss by turning thoughts in a more productive direction. I admit that I'm not sure how that amounts to farewell. I mean, I don't know, like, for example, this could allude to selling something. I don't know what I would sell. I'm not somebody who, I'm happy with my deck collection, And I tend to give decks away, I confess, instead of asking money for them. But, I'm just sort of looking around myself right now, and if anything, the room I'm in would have extra stuff in it as opposed to just necessities. And so that's a big question mark in my mind. I don't know what I would let go of that would actually put more money in the bank. It could be spending. If I were to, for example, hang on just a second, I just realized my camera lens isn't on my camera. Hobbies that I could maybe let go of. And so I would not be spending. It wouldn't be bringing money in, but it would be less spending. And I've kind of done that anyway in terms of limiting deck purchases, etc. I don't know. I don't really have any other spendy hobbies, actually. My collaging, I've got tons of material that'll last me for years. So I don't have to buy anything for that. So number 5, what happens as a result of new financial investments and savings? Here we have the destroying angel. Resist the me against the world or it's all up to me mentality. Acknowledge destructive ego affecting a leadership role. Seek collaboration and cooperation to get through difficult times. What is the question? What happens as a result of new financial investments and savings? I think the last line is most relevant. Seek collaboration and cooperation to get through difficult times. So I actually don't see having new financial investments and savings, except my employer kind of has an end of the year, I can't remember what it is. If it's I ignore it so that it's just there and it happens, and it's not really a match. It's kind of like a bonus. And it goes instantly, immediately into investments. Yeah. So that's all I can think of that would relate to. So number 6. But I'm not going to fault the deck because it's kind of an invalid question for me because I don't have any new financial investments or savings coming in. So number 6, what is the great financial lesson of my life? And here we have Founding Day. Remembering and honoring beginnings, marking time and progress, appreciating, well, that's an interesting word when we're talking about savings and investments, appreciating how far we've come in the present moment. So looking back and appreciating how far we've come. Again, to me, that's kind of just valuing, letting things sit there and grow over time. But I would say that this is not the clearest deck in terms of money issues. And it may, but is that fair? I mean, was it even fair of me to do this? But the whole idea of this was to just test it on a random other type of spread. Let me see if I can do, and I went immediately back to this. Let's try this. And this is going to be super quick with shuffling. So this is Honor Your Ancestors spread. And in the book, it's on page 238. And I was chuckling because opposite of this is Coco Chanel's Revamping My Wardrobe spread. And what I'm going to do, since this is totally experimental, and again, I'm not going to be giving the deck enough of a shuffle for this to be 100% valid, but in the Honor Your Ancestors spread, each one, there are 3 sets. Well, there are 2 sets of ancestors, 2 sets of questions. Oh, that's a little weird. I'm going to do 3, just the first 3 on that page, and then I am going to try. I'm going to try Coco Chanel's Revamping My Wardrobe spread, even though I have no intention of revamping my wardrobe, which is mostly sweatshirts at this point. T-shirts and sweatshirts. All right. Here we go. So the first card is Ancestor. I guess it's supposed to represent an ancestor. And I have the Power of Words, a card full of spiders. I'm somewhat arachnophobic. But it makes some sense. There's some writing talent among my ancestors. Let's see here. I'm just going to read from my notes if I can find... Oh, it's under the power. Be careful with what you say today. Words have potential repercussions beyond the moment. They can create errant ripples. So it's kind of a warning card. But I'm taking it more as just an ancestor who was good with the written word. And then, what is your message? So I'm guessing that means it's message for me, which is wild at heart, which is relying on your love of self in times of isolation, rejuvenating and affirming self-expression. So my ancestor is saying I should express myself, seeking the company of those with the same worldview. So to me that's saying, Jennifer, get yourself to a writing gathering like, what is it? I can't even remember what it is. No, it's not going to come to me. Anyway, it's where people who are engaged in writing programs, usually graduate programs, they all gather together. It's not poets and writers. Anyway, so that message strikes me as saying to get myself off to one of those. And how can I honor you? And we have a moment. So that could be journeying. It can just be a moment of meditation, if I recall correctly. R&R, a break, similar to the Four of Swords in a tarot deck. Meditation and dreaming. So just taking a moment to commune with the ancestors. So this wasn't bad, actually. This wasn't bad as a ancestor communication deck, which again, I would never have thought to use this deck that way. It's not. So that's worth knowing. So let's look at the wardrobe advice. Number 1, what is my style? Song of the Sea. Well, that's kind of interesting because what comes to mind seeing that is that I have 2 strands of cowrie shells. I never wear them, but that's what comes to mind because I'm thinking, how is the sea related to my wardrobe? I don't swim almost not at all. I have a bathing suit. But no, bikinis are not my style. Or bathing suits. I'm not going to be wandering around in a bathing suit either. But let's look and see what Song of the Sea has to say. Crossing communication barriers, both linguistic and emotional. So that would be, to me, that means eclectic, or something that crosses international or national barriers. Yeah. And so it would be more colorful than my t-shirts, probably. That is not my style at present. You could say that I have no style. I'm without style. You could say it crosses any linguistic barriers by being entirely bland. What new element do I want to embrace? Taking to heart. So in this, and the reason why I decided to go for this wardrobe thing is because people are wearing all kinds of different things in this deck. She's wearing white, like a white dress. Again, that's something I would never think to wear. And I'll read what it has to say in terms of the of my notes. But I think that it's that probably won't be relevant. Disregard the squawking and honking of others. Recognize when something said is just another person's noise coming to the surface. Ignore rudeness and carry on. So it seems to be saying that I need to have a more eclectic wardrobe and not worry about what anybody else will think. But it's not giving me direct advice about what kind of wardrobe I should be wearing, unless I take the little girl's white dress as a hint. And just given the amount of animal hair, that's why I have just gone with sweatshirts and t-shirts, is animal hair. Otherwise, I might be a little bit more adventurous in my wardrobe. So last one, do I dress to express my inner self? And here we have Winter's Throne, which I think is about seasons. And really, my wardrobe does not change that much. Kind of from sweatshirts to t-shirts. That's about it. So let me see. Winter's Throne. Community ceremony that serves as a reminder of cycles. Marking a timing, seasonal crossroads. Yeah. It's saying, no, I don't. My wardrobe expresses the seasons, not myself. But kind of fun. And I felt like it did quite well with the ancestor spread, much to my surprise. And I felt like it had some relevant messages that were a little bit indirect with the revamping my wardrobe spread. So, this could be a fun deck to pull out for, again, this kind of playing around with the 365 days of tarot. Yeah. And having, just having some fun instead of using a tarot deck. So maybe it does have a little versatility, more versatility than I was initially giving it some credit for. So there we go. This will probably be not my last video about this deck. I'll have like an end video that kind of sums up my experiences with it, especially in my day-to-day, because of course working in 365 tarot spreads in that book is not something I would do regularly. And so I'm really judging the utility of the deck based more on like the daily draws that I'm doing with it. So yeah, so there's another look at what the Raven's Wand Oracle can do, and I will have a final video mentioning kind of keep or not keep, when I'll pull it out, that kind of a thing, at the tail end of the month. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.